Hi guys, my name is Petra Manos. I'm the director at the Quantified Web and I'm about to be on the online prosperity show. Today I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks about how to get a better return on ad spend from your Google ads and why not to just go with what Google tells you to do. Remember, they're trying to make money from your pocket.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. And I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga. And today, we have a truly remarkable guest who combines the precision of a cybersecurity expert with the creativity of a master knitter. And yes, you heard that right. Now, Petra, how are you doing today?
I'm awesome. Thanks, Prosper.
Fantastic. I'm all excited about what we're going to jump into today because you are representing a Google Ads agency that specializes in consumer sales. And if that's not what a lot of people are doing in order to have a business that's profitable and enjoyable, I don't know what else is there. And for those that are watching right now, please join me in welcoming Petra Manos, who is the chief nerd behind the Quantified Web, an agency that takes Google ads and turns them into gold for customer sales. And from her start as in defending the digital borders of the country to actually defending your return on investment, Petra's journey is nothing short of inspiring. So I want you to stay tuned as we unravel her story, strategies, and some knitting wisdom. Maybe not, but yeah, that's part of the things that she also gets up to. Now, Petra, I mean, your journey from cybersecurity to Google Ads is fascinating. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about, that part of your journey and what it is that you're actually doing now for people?
Yeah, sure, no problems. So it's something I like to use as a bit of a head turner in terms of previous workplace. So before I was running the Google Ads agency, I was specializing in defense software engineering. So some of the last project I was working on was the cybersecurity, where we were using that to create heat maps of threats that were coming through email and various different text formats. But also I have worked on things like missile detection systems and air flight control systems, which have been pretty exciting in the 10 or so years prior to starting this agency. Certainly what it did was it meant that I had to be a very accurate kind of person. There is no fluffing about being so-so when it comes to these types of systems. And bringing that, and also I had to be a very numerical, analytical kind of person, and bringing those skills into making money for clients just seemed like a good way to use the skills to do something for normal people, I guess, rather than just always working for defense.
Absolutely. Well, in light of what you have done, thank you for your service. I mean, we live in a safe place right now just because you clicked a button.
I don't know that that's true, but great.
Absolutely. Now,
I did a bit more than click a button as well.
well, I can imagine. I mean, for 10 years, you were doing all these things. But tell me something. How did you get yourself involved in this?
In the Google Ads agency, or
No, in the defense. Did you
in defense?
Yes.
Well, I went back to university actually in my late 20s actually. Went back and did software engineering, and it was interesting because I had already done I had actually taken up programming as a hobby when I was 15. So it was something that I was pretty adept at when I was younger, but then I'd lost the skill. And I had actually started a self-help book in my early 20s, started a publishing business. That didn't go so well. But then I went back into the workforce as a software tester and decided I wanted to write the software. So I asked one of the software developers at the time, hey, what would you recommend someone does if they want to learn programming? And he just gave me a kind of a throwaway answer. He said, "Oh, write a Sudoku solver." It was just something that he threw away. Now, he had never created a Sudoku solver. He just figured, whatever. Anyway, the next week I came back to him and I said, "Hey, I've written that Sudoku solver. It solves any size Sudokus at all." And he was like, "Are you serious?" No, I showed him the code. I'd written the entire thing and I'd just learned it from a book. And he's like, "Wow." He just didn't think that was something that you could even do. So I knew that programming was something that I was good at, and went back to uni and finished doing some programming, which was kind of funny because I had already done some credits for earlier years in the course. So I went straight into the final year project. Even though I didn't have any formal skills yet in programming, I went straight into third year project. And then my team elected me to be the CEO of this project. And we ended up winning the IBM Rational Prize for Best Software Engineering Project. And personally, I got 100% for that project. So I guess I was probably fairly desirable in the workforce after doing so well in that project. But I just kind of found it funny because I didn't have any formal programming skills whatsoever until that point. It was just something that came naturally to me.
Absolutely, and congratulations on this accolade with IBM. While you were talking, I was envisioning this. Have you ever watched in the movies or in the TV series where the defense team is in the situational room and everything is just going berserk, and then they're now at their wits end. They don't even know what the next move would be. It's either calling the president to I don't know, maybe just issue a command or something of that nature. And then maybe one of the interns just slides in a business card, and then the chief looks at that business card and it says Petra Manos. And then they're like, "Send her a chopper." Are you the send her a chopper girl?
I don't know, maybe now actually. Actually, probably now in the business because we work with a lot of clients, and when it comes to Google Ads, you can have dramas. You can have things that are spending too much, things that are spending too little, things that need to get $10,000 today, but only got $5,000 today. And the client's on the end of the call going, "Why haven't we made $10,000 today? You only made $5,000 today. Fix it." Things like that. So, we have that type of thing we have to do now. But certainly when it came to the defense industry, no, my job was to be careful and considered and prevent those issues from happening in the first place.
Fantastic. And obviously you then made the transition to go from, defense research organization to actually starting your own business. That must have been daunting.
Yeah, well, see, I had always wanted to go back into business because I said that I went back to uni in my late 20s. I had I had a bit of an interesting transition from high school into work because I had got quite a high TER, which is the tertiary entrance rank in year 12. And as you do, I just picked the course that seemed interesting that needed the highest TER. So I ended up picking a double degree in robotic engineering with computer science straight out of the gate in year 12. Unfortunately, we didn't really get to do any of the computer science in the first couple of years. Otherwise, I probably would have stuck at it. But my first 2 years was actually the robotic engineering, and I hated it. I actually do not drink any alcohol. And my very first day at university, they're like, "Hey, join our beer crawl club." And I'm like, "I don't drink any alcohol." And they're like, "What? You signed up for engineering?" And then at the same time, I also, you mentioned I'm a knitter. Well, I was quite into fashion at the time and quite flamboyant fashion. And he was a whole bunch of guys with their, sorry to offend any engineers, but with their knees pulled up, like their socks pulled up to their knees, literally wearing shorts. And there was some very nerdy guys in my group. And here's me like dressed in bright colors and flamboyant, and everyone's like, the arts department's over there. And I'm like, no, I'm here for the robotic engineering. They didn't believe me. I was the only girl well, actually, no, there were three girls in total in the course. But I got 2 years into it and decided, no, it wasn't for me. And I dropped out of university and became a mortgage broker because they were advertising for commission-based sales. And I said, yeah, I'll give it a go. So I became a mortgage broker, did the commission-based sales, and more money than I could ever imagine making when I was 19, because the commission was pretty good if you know how to sell and if you're energetic. And that's when I started after doing that, I started my business in book publishing. So I had been self-employed in the past. And for me, going back to being self-employed was really important. And staying in the defense industry, it was a nice industry to be in. But by the end of that stage in my career, I was working in a top secret department, which meant that my phone had to be kept away. I couldn't bring my phone in to work with me. And I was heavily pregnant at the time. So when I started this agency, which started out as an analytics agency, I was already 38 weeks pregnant with my second child. And it was about an hour drive from my house. So the thought of having my daughter need to get picked up early from childcare or something like that and not even know that she was sick and then have to drive an hour to pick her up didn't really tickle my fancy. So I thought, no, I'd really rather work a bit closer to family at that stage.
Absolutely. But obviously this new gig that you started is it's like a whole new learning curve. I mean, it's like speaking a whole new language, and maybe they call it Googleese, in the corridors where you guys prevail. How did you then manage that? Like you say, kids
Well,
pregnant.
it's interesting that you say that, because so at the time I was working on like heat maps and things like that, and I thought, well, heat maps can be used in normal businesses. It doesn't just have to be used for defense. You can use heat maps. And Google had the previous version of Google Analytics was well established. Google had just brought out a tool called Google Data Studio, which is now called Google Looker Studio. And they had brought out some kind of rudimentary options in terms of how to visualize the data. So I started things out as an analytics agency, and I was reading through all the help files on Data Studio and Google Analytics, and I realized, holy moly, the only people that are going to understand all of this stuff are pure geeks, people who already have a software engineering background or who can just read Googleese and interpret it, because it is really hard to understand. I mean, even now, I feel that I use that development software engineering skill all the time, just trying to read their help documents. And then when you're trying to apply that in a marketing sense, because really that's what Google's all about for the majority of users, it's about marketing. Yes, they've got other AI tools and apps and stuff, but if we're talking about Google Ads, Google Analytics, Google Looker Studio, it's all about marketing. But you can't get past this kind of Google-ese that you're saying. And so really we need to interpret what they're actually talking about, and that's the first step.
Absolutely. And I can only imagine if people are trying to go at it by themselves, no wonder people are getting burnt out and not actually getting the results. Whereas, somebody like yourself who would, by lack of better definitions, was dismantling atomic bombs in, in the cyberspace there for the defense, it would be easy for you to look at the trends and things of, how it's actually working. But when you started your business, the Quantified Web, I mean, I actually like the name because quantified is, you're dealing numbers, you measured, and you're actually seeing what's working, what's not working, and things of that nature. I hadn't actually noticed that up until I say that out loud. you would have had to go through that learning curve, and also, dealing with clients and things of that nature. A lot of agencies lost, a lot of clients during the pandemic. Was that the case with you, or had you already figured yourself out by then?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you say that. There was a major turning point for us. So I mentioned that we started out as an analytics agency and then we changed to Google Ads. We had changed over to Google Ads not that long before the pandemic broke out. And interestingly, it was because we had a client who had a number of hotels under management. So they were an umbrella company. They had many hotels. We were managing around 25, 26 hotels at once for this one company. They had actually asked us, will you manage our Google Ads? And I said, no. And then they asked again, will you manage our Google Ads? I said, no. The third time they said, please, will you manage our ads? I said, all right, fine, I'll learn how to do it. Because I hadn't been managing ads at that stage. I'd just been doing analytics. So we learned how to do it. It turned out that it was very well aligned with the skill set. So we were doing great, managing all these ads. But as you can imagine, 26 hotel chains at the beginning of the pandemic was not a good diversified portfolio of clients. We also worked with several clients who were in the health industry, and we worked with one e-commerce client. So we had about, 30 clients. At the beginning of the week, we had about 30 clients. At the end of the week, we had one client. We had our one e-commerce client, all the other ones all packed up and left within the week. So that was kind of crazy. And by that stage, I had spent 3 years, maybe 3.5 years developing the business. And I remember just turning saying, well, you know how I told you that things are going really well in this business now, and I've just got to stick at it another 6 months and I'll be there and I'll be, earning that income that I said I was going to earn. It might just take a little bit longer. I'm down to one client. Sorry, husband. So luckily I had a really understanding husband, and I just took to, by this stage we'd already been doing Google Ads, and we'd already made a commitment that we were going to be like pretty much pivoted to Google Ads as our services. And so I just beelined for e-commerce clients, because e-commerce was the area that I had most enjoyed working with on analytics as well. I really enjoy unpacking inventory and the types of data that we have with that, and getting this working. So and just seeing the type of leverage that we have with selling products. And so I actually just started advertising myself on Google Ads, but believe it or not, advertising yourselves on Google Ads with the cost per click model like we would normally do for our clients costs around $50 a click. And I didn't have $50 to spend on a click. So I actually just went out and did a lot of display advertising for myself. And this turned out to be a really good strategy, because people that had met me, who liked working with me, or who felt that I would bring a good strategy to their Google Ads, then saw me all over the place on display. And within 3 months, I had replaced all of the clients that I had lost with new clients, because I just started getting phone calls all the time. People saying, oh, I just ditched my agency, but now I realize that I still need Google Ads. Can I go with you? Or people saying, I've decided to cancel doing marketing altogether, that everyone's left. I've cancelled marketing. Here you go. You can have my clients. Just things like this all happened. And within 3 months, I was back with the same number of clients that I'd had before the pandemic. It was mad.
I can only imagine.
And that's not necessarily a strategy that I would recommend now. It's okay, but back then it worked really well because of what was happening.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, people would normally tend to buy from those they know, like, and trust. And if you've sort of
Yeah.
laid the foundation and then fuel it up with a bit of display ads, then it will make life a whole lot easier for both because people can visually see you out there when they're searching and they can actually recognize. Now, but this obviously, with the way you're talking about, is a strategy that obviously needs some sort of expertise to deploy and also to see if it is rightly fit for a particular situation. But when you're working with your clients, you really focus on revenue and their return on ad spend. Maybe could you maybe touch up on that and why that is very important? Because it's
Yeah.
not necessarily just about spraying and praying with your ads out there.
No, I would not normally recommend that kind of strategy. It just worked at the time because of what was going on. But normally, we're very considered in terms of strategy. And in particular, like you're saying, there's there's three main things that we have to consider all the time. We've got revenue or return on ad spend, cost, and communication. And like at the end of the day, we have to have all of these three things working because no one wants to do any kind of advertising if it doesn't return revenue for them. And the costs have to be considered as well. You don't want to be spending more on advertising than you're actually receiving back in revenue. So, the costs absolutely have to be considered. And then when it comes to communication, well, things are always going to go a bit crazy in any kind of marketing, especially if you have like high pressure stakes, like Black Friday's coming up, or you're changing your budget, you're lowering your budget. We need to be on the ball all the time in terms of communicating what Google's doing, what we're doing, what's happening, why is things changing. We need to be communicating that to try and relieve some of the anxiety that comes out of spending money on Google. And then from their client's perspective, we're spending their money and they're hoping that they get a return. I mean, we're doing a lot more. We're not using hope. We're using concrete strategies. But from their perspective, they're just handing over their money to us and entrusting us with it and hoping they're going to get a return. But we need to ensure that whatever we've been entrusted with, we are making that back for them at a target that they require. So some businesses will require, so let's say for every $1 they spent in Google Ads, they might ask us to bring back $10. So if they're spending $1,000, they want $10,000 back. Other businesses will say, well, that's okay. For every $1 I spend in Google Ads, I just want $2 back. And there's going to be different reasons for that. So in some industries, it's more competitive than other industries. But also in some industries, the margins might be tighter. So for example, if you're selling a product or service that costs you 90 cents on every dollar to acquire, then you've only got 10% of your revenue is coming back to you in profit. A business like that needs quite a different result in terms of revenue compared to a business where the cost of acquiring the product or service is only 10% and the other 90% is pure profit. These kind of businesses work quite differently and will have quite different targets.
Absolutely. Maybe you can, maybe obviously because you're touching on things that people might find interesting, you could share a case study where this sort of approach has actually made a significant difference for a client, because so many people will only hear about stories of people that have been burnt by agencies or people that have spent so much money on ads and not even actually gotten a return in terms of the investment that they would have put up front.
Yeah, okay. Is it okay if the example that I use is product-based in nature?
Absolutely. Yeah, sure.
Okay,
And
all
if you
right.
don't feel like, mentioning names, I think that is also fine as long as we can just get the gist of what inputs and how you actually made their life a lot easier by connecting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, sorry. I'm not going to mention any particular names, but I thought I'd check on that because some businesses might feel that they don't quite fit this model. But let me just run it past you. So let's say you have someone who's selling products, and they have, we're just going to really simplify it, and we're going to say they have 2 products, and these products, they pay 50% of the total amount that they receive back as revenue for acquiring the product, and then 50% is profit. So we've got 2 products. One of those products, they decide they're going to put on sale, and they're going to discount that product by 50%. You now have one product that has 50% profit still in there, and the other product has 0 profit in there because the profit has now disappeared because they've discounted it. Now, if you spend the same amount of money on Google Ads for both products, you could be making quite a reasonable profit on the product where you didn't discount it. Whereas the one that you discounted, because you already removed your profit, by spending money on Google Ads, anything that you spend on advertising is now a pure loss, unless you're hoping that in the future, by acquiring this customer, they'll become a customer again in the future. So there is a little bit of future strategy that you need to consider as well. But essentially, if you've discounted the product that much, it's going to be a loss on this Google Ads click. So something that we would be considering is, what are the actual margins in the products or services? Maybe it's not the right thing to do to advertise the products that are on clearance, for example. If we're talking about, say, an apparel business that has put things on a steep clearance, or maybe we need to consider the lifetime value, because there might be sometimes when, even though there's not a lot of profitability that's built into a sale, it's the right thing to do because it's the introduction to a longer service. So let's say you have a business that is selling a range of services, and people tend to pick a small service first to dip their toes in the water. And it might be that selling that small introductory service isn't profitable on its own through Google Ads. But once you've brought that person into the business, you can now say to them, hey, by the way, we've got this bigger service, and you can bring them into the fold. Now, when you consider that, there's more that you can do in terms of looking at the lifetime value of that customer, and you need to then consider the revenue that's coming in as more of a lifetime value proposition. So actually, in Google Ads, to train Google Ads to find the right types of people, you need to know in advance what strategy you're going with. Are you talking about something that you need to sell right now and therefore you don't want to make a loss? Or are you talking about something that you want to bring them in? Even like a free trial, for example, you're not going to be making a profit right now on a free trial. But if you know the percentage of people that will convert from free trial into a paid service, then you can do the maths on that. And we can say to Google, hey, this free trial is actually worth $750 to our business on average, statistically speaking, even though someone's not paying for it now, because we know what the lifetime value is of those free trials. And this needs to be thought through in every business and every case to make sure that we're training Google adequately.
Absolutely. I quite like that because there's method to this madness. So many people are using Google Ads as a last resort that I just really need to beef up my clients. Whereas if you've got a well thought out strategy, you actually get the most out of it. And this can also work in the service sector, where you can literally offer a free quotation, knowing that once you've opened up the customer, like a loss leader type setup, you've opened them up to wanting more. You could always then go to them and say, hey, would you like fries with that? And then that
Exactly.
then makes you recuperate on the loss of ad spend, and I quite like that. And
Well, that's
there's
all about trust as well, because as you know, someone has to trust you before they're going to do more business with you. And if you are selling something that can get past that trust barrier, then the chances are that they will do business with you in the future. And it really depends on your business, but there's going to be some businesses that are service-based, for example, where the fees are going to be quite high. And so you need to have some way to get someone in the door enough that they can see you and your team and feel that trust with you and want to continue. But then you have other businesses that are a bit more cut and dry, where if they're talking about products, they will need to know the percentage chance of a customer becoming a repeat customer. And if they tend to sell things one off, then you don't want to be in a situation where they're losing money on the first click if that's likely to be the only profit making opportunity for a customer. It really depends on the business.
Absolutely. And obviously, with the way that you operate and the way that you work, I've noticed that you are heavily dependent, or you rely on using repeatable systems, and obviously having team members around, just so that you can create that consistency and also that trust that customers have now gotten accustomed to liking. Now, how has this sort of philosophy impacted your agency's success?
Yeah, systems are incredibly important, because when you're dealing with things that are rapidly changing, like any kind of digital marketing is, if you try to work on an ad hoc basis with, oh, I'll dabble a bit in this over here and I'll dabble a bit over there, you quickly lose track of what the best practices actually are. And you don't have a repeatable system that you can ensure that any client that you're working with has a good experience. And in my opinion, it's very important that our clients and anyone who's working with us do get value from their advertising. So sometimes it will be that for whatever reason, a business isn't quite ready to take that advertising journey. They don't get the return. And in that case, we will know that at least by following the best practices for the account, if they did stop becoming our client and they were managing it themselves, we have now educated them to become so much better off than they were before as a result of our system and by teaching them how to use that system. But for the clients who do their businesses set up in a way that they're able to convert clients, for example. So we've got them leads or we've got them sales and they're converting them, they're making money. The systems that are the best practices are going to create more leverage for them and allow them to scale and allow them to put more budget into Google and then to make more profit. And if we didn't have consistent practices that we were using, we wouldn't really know whether anything that we were doing for our clients was going to work or not. It would make it very hard for us to be convincing as well if we were giving advice. So as far as I'm concerned, it's just we just have to have the best quality systems that we can and the best training within the team to ensure that everyone is following the system correctly.
Absolutely. And that also, sort of insulates you from, or ensures against, somebody walking away or getting a better offer somewhere else, and you don't have to sort of start from scratch. Now, you are literally empowering your clients by allowing them to, like you say, learn from you. And then if they so wish, move on and start doing by themselves. And I'm finding it in our space. A lot of people are just looking at what artificial intelligence can do for them, and they think they can go at it by themselves. Now, in a world where AI is sort of increasingly involved in maybe ad creation, I think you've mentioned that you're not yet sold on ads written by AI alone. First of all, why is that? And maybe can you explain why we still need human beings to be tinkering with ads.
Yeah, and I'll just clarify what you said before. When it comes to running the ads yourself, if you have a business that is quite cost sensitive, you just can't afford to have professionals in there doing your advertising, taking some advice from people that know what they're talking about and doing it yourself is much better than just trying to do it yourself without any advice. But also, it's better than trying to pay someone to do it all for you, but then running your business to the ground because you literally cannot afford it. But if you are a business that can afford to have marketing personnel on your team, it is much better to have the agency do it for you because of the complexities of what's involved, and also the way that we learn to see through a problem and identify what the problems actually are that need to be solved. We can do that so much faster, easier, and also more accurately than someone who's trying to do it themselves that isn't trained. So I wouldn't want anyone to come away from the conversation thinking that it's easy to do themselves, but there are some businesses that just the profitability within the business isn't there yet for them to have a month-to-month service team helping them with their ads. Now, in terms of that next step of education, sorry, would you mind just repeating that part of your question again?
Because we were talking, you're educating your clients, and some of them might just think using AI is the next
AI, that's
thing
right.
to do. Yeah.
AI, yeah. So, so something that Google's been really keen on is to try to simplify Google Ads by using a lot of AI. And on the one hand, they've potentially made it simpler to get started with Google Ads. On the other hand, they've actually made it harder to get a profit with Google Ads. And so I'll give you an analogy here. So I heard a story about an AI company that was trying to make AI to identify what type of fracture was being seen in hospitals from X-rays. And so they gave a range of different fractures and taught the AI. And then after that, they showed a whole bunch more fractures, and the AI got it right every time. Now, when they went and took some fractures from a totally different hospital and showed it to the AI got it wrong every time. And it's what they didn't realize when they unpacked the data. The AI had become trained on the name of the surgeon or the name of the room that the X-ray had. It wasn't looking at the fracture at all. And it's because AI systems are very much learning the data that's coming in, and they will take shortcuts. So in this case, the AI was able to take a shortcut of this surgeon's name specializes in this type of thing. And the people who were setting up the picture didn't realize that they had to cut all of that data out, have a different surgeon's name there. All of a sudden, the AI doesn't know what you're doing. When we're talking about things that naturally take shortcuts, what that means is that you can have a situation where Google Ads is now going so far off what you had intended that you would be sick to your stomach if you saw what it was doing, but they've made it easier to do that. And then when you look at it and see what it's doing, you're like, I would have never done that as a human. I just wouldn't have done it. So, for example, we see things like people are searching for a coupon code, and then the AI goes, people are searching for a coupon code. Let's write a whole lot of ads about get your coupon code here when there is no coupon code. Now, is that going to impress customers, or is that going to aggravate customers? It's going to aggravate them if there is no coupon code. But the AI will just go for the shortcuts. Another example will be we see businesses who are relying on the AI types of ads. So, for example, there's a type of ad called a performance max, which is very common. And when we look into it, we can see that 50% of all of their spend is going into their own brand name, where there were no other competitors betting against their brand name, and literally they could have got that for free. And so I've seen businesses waste tens of thousands of dollars advertising their brand name because the AI, looking for the shortcut, said, well, that's the way to get the most return on ad spend. Let's just advertise our brand name. And this becomes a real problem. The more famous your brand is, the more people are searching for it, the more Google goes, let's just keep showing you for that. When in actual fact, what you're trying to do is build new customers. And so if your strategy is to build new customers, but you've said to Google Ads, just let the AI figure it out, just give us something that's going to make us money, the AI is going to look at it and go, well, actually, the people who already know, like, and trust you and who already know your name, those are the most profitable ones. So they're the ones we're going to target, which is the complete opposite of what you're actually wanting your marketing to do. And so I would say that nowadays it's harder than ever before to get good results from the Google Ads. And we have to focus, instead of just letting the AI do whatever it wants, we have to focus on training it as though it was this naughty puppy. And every day is a training exercise in how to get that puppy to behave.
Absolutely, because obviously for them, their business, they would rather be doing things that actually earn them more money than the other
Absolutely.
way
What's the
around.
point of spending money on Google Ads if Google Ads is just going to focus on the people that you could have got for free? No point. No point.
Absolutely, absolutely. And obviously, this is the reason why they need to partner with an Google Ads specialist and, somebody like yourself. Now, you've got a team of 7 at Quantified Web. Can you maybe let us know how people can maybe get started, or what's the first thing that people need to sort of do in order to start working with you?
Yeah, well, essentially, they can come to my website and they can book in with me for a strategy session. Now, the places are limited on those strategy sessions. I only do a couple of them a week, but they can certainly book in with me to do that. With a strategy session, I'll go through their Google Ads situation, look through the kinds of issues that they're facing, and then give them some straight out advice on what's going on, what needs to be done to fix it. I then write this into a bit of a plan so that they know what needs to be done moving forward. Now, I don't charge anything for the strategy sessions, and the strategy plan that I write down is pretty detailed. So it is actually a bit of a bargain, if I do say so myself, because I'm giving away a whole bunch of knowledge for free. But the reason that I do that really is I like to have a very trusting relationship with my clients, and I like to ensure that we're working together at a level of trust and education where our clients feel that our communication is better than they've ever experienced before. And so that's really step one, is in preparing that strategy. And then from there, usually we will work with our clients on a month-to-month basis. So as long as the business is able to work over 6 months, then we would normally work together on a month-to-month basis from there. We do have some situations where we will work on a casual basis where we're just doing solving a small problem, but that doesn't tend to be the majority of what we do.
Absolutely. I will definitely make sure that the link to maybe get started with you is in the show notes so that people can obviously see if they're fit to work with you. Now, with the way that the internet is now shaped, we are now a global village where, let's say you're selling products or you're selling small things, you now are competing with big giants like Amazon or Temu. Or if you're a service provider, you're competing with people like the Yellow Pages or just all these other lead generation platforms. What sort of advice or simple trick that you can maybe leave any advisor who's maybe selling products that they can actually use to see any significant results with Google Ads?
Yeah, this is a real issue at the moment with competition. Certainly, this has made it harder and harder for businesses to be profitable online with Google Ads, and it means that they need to have a very good strategy. So, if you consider from the perspective of someone who's selling products, well, just because Temu and Amazon are on shopping doesn't mean that you can't use that platform. Please don't think that you have to be competing with them directly. Actually, many consumers don't want to buy from Temu or a business like this because they're looking for a particular quality. So if you sell a higher quality item, then you can still use the shopping platform because people can actually choose to filter based on price or other things to try to filter out the very cheap items. Please don't think that's not going to work for you. The shopping platform is fantastic for businesses who sell products irrespective of the price of the item. When it comes to services, it can be quite tricky because a lot of the other businesses out there are going to be driving up the cost per click, which is the amount that you pay Google in order to have someone click on your ad. But there are things that we can do there to not just focus on the quantity of clicks that you're getting and the quantity of leads that you're getting, but what is the actual quality that you want, and then make sure then that your budget is being well defined into the places where you actually want to bring on business rather than just spreading it really thin. So I always suggest having a very a strong focus on budget management to make sure that your budgets are being spent in the areas that have the most strategic focus for you, as well as getting the best returns, and not just evenly distributing your budget across campaigns that aren't working for you.
Absolutely. And it's all about return of investment. So that's the name of
That's
the
right.
game. Well, thank you so much, Petra, for sharing your, first of all, incredible journey. I didn't know that about you. The whole cybersecurity and top secret, activities. So do you still have the clearance?
Yeah, I think once you have top secret clearance, it's something that sticks with you for a long time. I still have people trying to call me, ask if I'd like to work in the defense industry, but I just politely decline.
Absolutely.
And
Well,
there's nothing wrong with working in the defense industry either, but I'm happy with what I'm doing at the moment. Don't really want to go back to previous careers right now.
absolutely. Well, your story is just a testament to the power of, first of all, resilience, expertise, and just a little bit of creativity. Whether it's you knitting or it's in the digital marketing space, you're just weaving, trust amongst everything that you're doing. So this is something that is quite remarkable. I really appreciate the time we've spent together.
Well, that was quite a few wool related analogies, but thank you very much, Prosper. It's been really appreciated you having me today.
Great stuff. And for those that are watching right now, thank you so much. I know this was a bit of a long one, but hey, if you're looking for real information, you obviously have to stick around. And if you found this episode valuable, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and maybe share this with a friend or two that are actually maybe struggling with their ads, or they're looking to get somebody to help them actually go to the next level so they can start getting a return on investment on their ads. And Petra is going to provide a link to her book a call session where you can actually speak to her and find out if you're a perfect fit to be working with her agency, the Quantified Web. So stay tuned for more inspiring stories and actionable insights here on the Online Prosperity Show. Until next time, keep thriving and bye for now.